is. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of Horsin Around here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Looking like a new little face. The boss is not here, so the boys will play. Me and Pete Visco, my co-host for tonight. We're going to go over all of the best action coming from Fairgrounds this week, and including a very, very special horse for this podcast, and maybe for the Kentucky Derby itself. Of course, Sierra Leone winning the Risen Star Stakes. That will be of course, as the fans of the podcast will know, a heavily talked about topic towards the end of the show. But guys, we have a great show for you guys. Like I said, recapping a lot of great action. But Pete, how's it going, my man? I had to make sure I didn't hit the betting and boozing the betting and boozing montage instead of the HHH one. But what's up?
Hey, this is our show. You can do whatever you want. You're the host tonight. I figure, you're in charge. I'll just go along with whatever you want to do. By the way, for Jim in the chat, since I'm wearing my Spider-Man shirt here, Madam Webb, you could tell why people thought it was pretty bad. Me and my son, we enjoyed it, but we enjoy everything a little bit. But not the best movie in the world. I'd say stay home and wait for it to stream for free. That's my key review.
Disney Plus will have it. Give it about a month.
This movie might be on in like 3 days, so keep waiting.
No kidding. But fresh off the plane, guys. Howard, give me a thumbs up in the background if you're good to go. Sounds good. He's giving it a thumbs up. Bringing on, of course, the usual host of Horsin Around, of course, the host of Picks and Ponies and the founder of the HHH Racing Podcast, Howard Kravitz. Howard, what's on? What's going
Sierra
on,
Leone, let's go, baby. We're in the Derby. What's up, boys? How we doing?
Everyone turned around to me in the middle of a crowded OTB as I screamed, "We're going to the Derby!" And they're all looking at me like I'm absolutely nuts. But man, what an absolute ride! Of course, we'll talk about that later as we get into the show. But Howard, there is one thing that I'll talk about the peripherals real quick, and then we'll get into something that's very, very exciting for not only us at the HHH Racing Podcast family, but hopefully for you guys as well. As you see scrolling on the bottom of the screen at HagesKravitzHorse@gmail.com. Please email Howard with any questions, comments, concerns. Also, you also see scrolling on the bottom of the screen right now. Please like and subscribe. Liking this video not only pushes it out into the YouTube algorithm, but of course it helps us out and let us know that you guys are liking the content that you're seeing. It's the best way to help out our podcast. Again, please like and subscribe below the video player. And as I go through right now, of course, if you're an audio listener, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchors, where you'll find not only every episode of Horsin Around, but every single episode that's posted here at the HHH Racing Podcast YouTube channel. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Please rate, review, and subscribe over there. The Power Picks, guys, still going really strong. I'm almost 550 picks now and still well over the positive ROI mark. Only $4 a weekend. One of the most profitable and most affordable tip sheets in all of horse racing. Please go to patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast. Also below the video player. And again, HHHRacingPodcast.com is where you'll find previous editions of the Power Picks, anything you want to know about us, Kentucky Derby, Kentucky Oaks, top 10s, everything you need to know will be on HHHRacingPodcast.com. And of course, follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/HHH Racing Podcast. But like I said, I hinted at it a little bit, Howard, but I'll let you take over here as we have something extremely exciting. We've kind of hinted at over these past few weeks, but it's coming to fruition.
Yeah, it's really exciting. First of all, hello, everyone. I just put in the chat, I literally walked in the door like 5 minutes ago. I told the Uber driver, I'll take care of you. Push a little bit. And yeah, he was going like 80 and a 65, but hey, that's all good. We got home safely. So very exciting. The HHH Racing Podcast online store is up. Should we show everyone what it looks like?
Absolutely. Take it away, my friend.
You put the link. The link is, why don't you tell everyone where it is, Kyle, so I bring it up on the screen.
So as Howard's bringing it up on the screen right now, it is the top of the description. Of course, you have the description of what the show is, but at the very top of the description under that is the link to the merch store, guys. It is up and it is ready to go. They have a bunch of different high quality items arranging quarter zips, hats, and everything you need. But it is in the top of the description. The link is right under the kind of blurb about it. But Howard, go on, take it away, and tell
Pete,
people.
should we look at? There's some new items in the store, Pete. I think you might like it. Let's check it out, guys.
Yeah, let's.
First of all, as everyone's going to notice, listen, I put my money where my mouth is. If Sierra Leone wins the Derby, everyone's first $50 is free. Now, you don't have to spend $50. Let's be clear.
Yep.
If you spend $30, then everything is free. Everything. If you spend $75, then you only spend $25. So it's a great deal. What's going to happen? And I'm going to put it in emails. I don't want to go on forever right now, but what's going to happen is I'm going to have a spreadsheet of everyone who, bought merchandise. I'm going to have your emails, and if Sierra Leone wins the Derby, I'll be contacting everyone and sending everyone $50. It's very simple. That's how it's going to work. So there's no coupon codes, although we had some creative ideas earlier today on what to name the codes, but no coupon codes necessary. It's just real simple. Sierra Leone, who, by the way, is 7-1 in Vegas, and what closed at 6-1 in the Kentucky Derby future wager, Pete, and we got him 150-1. I'd say that's a pretty good bet as of now, or really just
in general, yeah.
Well, let's take a look at the store real quick, and I'm going to go real fast. Koozies. That's right. We got koozies front and back. Here's the front. There's the back with the B&B logo. We got koozies for everyone. It's only $5. Great hats. I love the hats. There's the hats. There's different colors and styles. This is all B&B merchandise we're all seeing right now. We got T-shirts with the B&B logo. A little bit hard to see there, but it does say HHH Racing Podcast underneath. And on the back, Pete, how about that? Boozing and not losing.
I like it.
I like it too. On the back, there's the T-shirts for Bet and Boozing. We got hoodies for Bet and Boozing. We got nice polos. These are Nike dry fit polos, Kyle. This is very high quality stuff. I know people see the price and they're like, wow, I didn't upcharge barely at all here. I mean, this is basically what the price is. The retail price is very nice Nike dry fit polos. Then we have quarter zips also. Real nice quarter zips, people to buy. And that's the B&B stuff. Then, you right, Pete? We got hats, but they're new. They're different. We outlined it there in white so we could see the racing podcast better. And we got different colors of our hats for the HHH Racing Podcast. We've got T-shirts. And on the back of the T-shirts is our faces, Pete. It's our face logo on the back of the T-shirts.
Oh, nice.
And, which I think was better with the front just a little more, generic on the front. So everyone's not scared, Pete, of seeing you, Paul and I.
Nobody needs that. Yeah, nobody needs that coming at you. Yeah.
We got hoodies with HHH Racing Podcast on the front, or hoodies with our faces on the front. And then again, the Nike dry fit polo, different colors. It's not just white. I sort of like this one. I think I'm going to grab myself a navy polo. It's not going to show up.
You'll click it. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. There's the navy. Actually, that's the anthracite, but the navy, I'm sort of digging the navy polo.
That's a nice
I like that. Yeah. And then the last thing, of course, is the dry fit. So all sorts of merchandise here. And it's on until March. I'll take this off screen. Until March 3rd. So you have 2 weeks to buy, everyone. 2 weeks, and that is it. And then we're closing the store. So Kyle and P, I'll let you take away a little bit. Really excited. Hopefully get a lot of people to support the HHH Racing Podcast. We need your help. We'd love your support. Some great merch for colder days, warmer days. You need a beer, grab a koozie. There you go, guys.
Talk about a beer. You know the people that watch Betting and Boozing, the tradition every time we got to crack a beer as we get into the show. But then the thing is when you guys buy merchandise, all the money goes straight back into the podcast, is making, better equipment, more shows, stuff like that. It all goes right back into the podcast. So straight while you're buying merch, you're straight supporting the podcast. So like I said, anything you guys do, merch you guys, any ideas, if you guys like the merch, please comment below. We would love to hear it. But yeah, please go to the link below in the description. It's near the top of the description, and buy your HHH Racing Podcast merch today. But
just
guys,
a quick note, real quick, we also have a page on our website. So if you forget which episode it was related to, There's a page on our website where I'll put the link. The link's not on there just yet.
Okay.
It says coming soon as of today, but I'll put the link and maybe even some of the photos of the merch. So it'll be on there. It's a little easier to remember if you don't remember which episode we threw the link under. So go there, hhhracingpodcast.com. You'll be able to find it that way as well.
And that'll obviously be the easiest way to find it if you just go straight.
Yeah, there you go. Right on the top there.
Obviously, it says
then
coming
you'll have
soon.
stuff
As
on here.
It was
Pete-
coming soon as of it was coming soon as of the as of about an hour ago. So now it's now
Oh, yeah.
now I have to get to work and change it
He'll
up.
take care of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, not worried. By the time you guys get there after the show, the link will be there. So like I
Yeah.
said, go buy your merch and support the HHH Racing Podcast
Please.
today. But guys, like I said, we're gonna go over all the stakes at Fairgrounds today. The earlier stakes we're gonna kind of go through pretty quick here. Obviously, there were 6 stakes on the card at Fairgrounds. You had 2 listed stakes and 4 graded stakes, including the Rachel Alexandra and the Risen Star, both with Kentucky Oaks and Derby implications, respectively. So we'll start going through it now. The first one, guys, is the Colonial Power, and that was the meant to be turf sprint for 4-year-olds and up, and it got taken off the turf. It was the only stakes race to be taken off the turf, and it's ended up being a field of 7. But I'll tell you what, guys, in the turf stake, the turf sprint division, which I've obviously grown very accustomed to. I mean, these are still some of your top of the top horses in the turf stake division. As I'll bring it up here right now. There we go. There's the DRF guys right now for you. Minnesota Ready comes out on top, ends up winning pretty convincingly, honestly, over Just Might, who, old grandpa's still getting it done at age 8. Talk about a cool horse to own in Just Might, but I'll bring up the buyers as well. Howard, since you're under me, I'll let you talk about this one first. Not too much to talk about in an off the turf sprint race, but still pretty good effort by Minnesota Ready.
I'm chuckling because I didn't even see this race. There were some family things that got in the way Saturday, so we didn't even get to Santa Anita. I went to Santa Anita Saturday. We didn't get to the last 4 races, and I was busy dealing with some other stuff. So I got to be honest, I have absolutely nothing to say.
All right.
You guys, I will say this. I know Minnesota Ready was a Lothenbach
Yes.
horse that was in the private sale that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, that Crownsway was interested in buying this horse, but obviously didn't come to fruition. So he's a cool horse, but I have nothing to add.
Well,
I honestly didn't see the race, guys.
No, and then Pete, on that, I'll talk about that for a second. Pete, any quick thoughts? And then obviously, like I said, we'll move on to the bigger races. But this was one of the horses that we were looking at because, you go into those sales, those kind of liquidation sales, and you're like, this horse is 5. He's already gelded. I mean, how much is this horse really going to go for? And the range we were thinking is somewhere around like the 100,000 range, just over it for an older horse who's, maybe his best days are behind him. And this horse goes for $380,000 and tops the entire sale. And we're like, all right, well, I guess that's it. But Pete, like I said, a 102 buyer for Minnesota Ready, which is, I believe, the top buyer of the entire day at Fairgrounds.
Yeah, I think so.
And I mean, he like I said, he ran a hole in the wind, and off that, he has sloppy form in the past, but yeah, just a commanding performance. For sure.
When not to get too much into it, with these kind of races, when they come off the turf, a lot of times if you see horses who have dirt form, or if they come off because of wet track, if they have sloppy and dirt form, it's kind of obvious. And Minnesota Ready, who is pretty consistent and wins on both. So I think was probably a smart favorite at that point and ran like it. And Just Might is similar too. Just Might has some nice races on dirt, has nice races, obviously, on turf, and actually was 2 for 2 on the top 2 on the wet as well. So you got basically the 2 logicals. They took the money and they ran the way they were supposed to. So pretty formful.
Take the money.
Kyle, can I jump in a second? I want to
absolutely.
compliment Pete Visco on 2 things. Number 1, did you guys mention how much he crushed the power pick tip sheet?
I was getting there.
5?
Oh yeah, we didn't
on
talk
Saturday.
about it.
Pete,
Yeah.
awesome, unbelievable, great job. And also, Kyle, Pete finally came to his senses. The reason why I was looking to the right, Pete, is I was looking at our website. you finally have our boy on top of the Derby list
I
as
have
number
that
one.
too up there.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Well, you know what though, my former number one Track Phantom actually ran pretty well, who I actually had out of the top 3 and ran pretty well as well. So it's hard. We'll talk about that later, but the hardest thing is when the horses don't come back, because as we saw with Fierceness, they don't always come back as great as you'd expect them to. So yes, our boy is on top for now. Hopefully he stays.
Like I said, best, we talked about it forever. What looked like the best Derby prep on paper by far this year turned out to be a pretty good race. And obviously Sierra Leone swinging not even New Orleans wide. He was swinging, he swung probably Orlando wide from Fairgrounds and was still able to get done. But obviously we'll talk about that later. But Jim Pillar's go. Jeez.
Be nice to your wife, Jim.
Yeah,
we like
come on,
her. We
Jim.
like her better than you when she's in the comments. So be nice to her.
Jim Pillar is obviously a great supporter of the podcast from nearly the beginning. So,
by the way, I'm sort of wondering why only just the polo. I mean, what the hell? We got a lot of other stuff you could be buying.
We got all this
Don't
stuff.
go cheap on it. Don't go cheap on us, Jim. You're live to 7,500, buddy. Let's go.
That's also true too. But obviously, guys, we'll move on here. The Al Stall Memorial Stakes was next. This was a race that was actually on the turf, and I can show this replay. I have this one up and ready to go. But Pete, I'll kind of let you talk about this race. Was won by Spirit and Glory. This is actually the start of my Hawthorne contest plays that I'll talk about a little bit as we go through. Don't have to talk about it too much. But Spirit and Glory was ridden by Pratt, ridden beautifully. Might as well. Creative Cairo was your favorite. I know you liked Creative Cairo, Pete. I actually had Spirit and Glory on top, but there was definitely a way. There wasn't too big of a way for me to separate them.
Creative Cairo, I didn't love the ride. It was a little too far back and really had a lot of work to do and ran fine, but ran closer to what sometimes her earlier races were like. So you can see her, she's obvious in the gray. Yeah. So she drops all the way to the back, and then
as per usual, she does maybe not that far back, because I was kind of in agreement with you. We see Pratt just takes back on the inside here, and I can skip ahead here. Well, we won't watch this full race, but I'll skip to the turn. As you'll see, Pratt's just absolutely masterfully riding Spirit and Glory here to the inside. You'll see Creative Cairo is still pretty far back, not really even making a move just yet. The 13 was the horse that scared me in this race, because this was the also eligible that did get into the race.
Had a nice trip. Yeah.
And join the dance was because obviously my whole play was centered around the 5 and the 3. So once the 13 made that inside move, I was like, if this horse just runs up the rail and win, I'm going to be so upset, because I actually had 2 backup bets as well with the 7 and the 8. And the fact that if the 13 wins, I'm gonna be so sad. I was perfectly fine until about right here.
Yeah, and I was like, a little weary.
If I get nipped, I'm gonna lose it. But Pratt was very confident in the ride. Again, a great run from Spirit and Glory, who ended up getting a 91 buyer for that effort and the soft turf that as they had it listed. Howard, I'm not sure again if you watched this or not, but it actually didn't look like they were kicking up that much turf. It almost didn't look like that soft in a way.
It's interesting. The Fairgrounds turf is tough. I know, Pete, we talked about when it's wet, it makes it, doubly tough. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? Do you notice how wide Creative Cairo was?
Yeah.
And how much on the inside Spirit and Glory? I got a feeling the jocks thought that the outer part of the course would be better. Kyle and Pete, but I'm not sure it ended up being that way, because Pratt just stayed on the rail and ended up winning. So I don't know. It was weird. I think they were. The discrepancy between where Spirit and Glory was and where Creative Cairo guys was like literally 10 paths. So I'm not really sure the jocks knew what to do, because a lot of them went wide, and Pratt's like, fine, I'll stay on the inside. And the inside obviously wasn't that bad because it was fresh ground. So from their standpoint, Pete and Kyle must have been really tricky on like what paths to take.
Well, because we always talked about Fairgrounds, right? And, obviously that turf course had a little bit of trouble in the past. It's a lot better this year than it was last year. But obviously with the rails being down, with the softer turf, that fresher ground is going to be nice. And there was a lot of fresher ground also, to the outside rail as well. So it's that tricky situation of, do you want to just try and risk it on the inside? But as Pratt, they basically just swung the doors open for Pratt and said, please come on in. It would be much appreciated if you came up on the inside. But look, Noah Maher, obviously co-host on Betting and Boozing, says Pratt's the best turf jockey in the country. Changed my mind. I don't think you'd get too much pushback on that one, although there are a few that might be vying for that title in the States.
I mean, you give the best horse with a great jockey, the best horse in the race, whose only real drawback was probably the layoff, but was probably the most talented and who had the most class, and you give her the best trip. Yeah, she's going to win more likely than not. And you could see the layoff maybe got to her late. She was a little leg weary, but they were a little too far behind to catch her.
Yep, one in of itself. All right, guys, this one. This is going to hurt my heart a little bit to talk about in this race, but the Mineshaft Stakes is next, guys. Obviously, it was a mile and a 16th running around the dirt course. Money Supply is your winner. Best Actor finishing second as the 3-5 favorite. Money Supply ends up getting a 96, guys. And there's not really too much to talk about in this race, so I'll show the replay and I'll let you guys kind of talk through as we watch most of it. But in this race, guys, I did not think Best Actor. I mean, not thinking he can lose is an overstatement, but I thought right there, I also thought I was in trouble. I thought he was going to get the lead by himself, which he ended up doing here. Had to use a little bit extra than I hoped he would have, but I mean, from here, I was perfectly happy with it. But Howard, I'll kind of go to you next. I know you had Best Actor on top, but I know you were a little bit dubious. And right here, you called me afterwards. You were like, uh-oh. That kind of reaction.
Well, as Pete knows, I used everyone except the two in this race on the pick. I mean, I didn't have a strong feel. The ride on Money Supply was that who was that, guys? Rosario? Or I don't know. What
it was. Shoot.
No, it was Gaffleone.
Okay, the ride. Well, our boy. I mean, this ride. He's about 6 lengths back on the inside. I mean, I love guys when these jocks use enough on the first turn to get to the inside, but not so much that they use too much. And he tipped out, tipping out wide in the stretch for Tyler Gaffleone. Where have I seen that before? Anyway, it was a great ride. He got a little goofy though late. I mean, Kyle, you should talk about it because your whole contest was through this. I thought he was done, but did he fight back or did Money Supply drift or both?
I think it's both. I mean, Best Actor obviously stayed on the entire way, and it's a testament to what I think. But it got a lot closer than I thought it was going to be because I thought at the turn, I mean, thought I was done. It ends up being, a head difference between the two. But that's the difference between me and $8,600 is what it is. Because my whole plan on the entire day at the Hawthorne contest, and actually, little shout out, I'll be talking about it tomorrow on Club Hawthorne's Twitter account with their Twitter Spaces at 6 p.m. Central. So tune in if you want to hear a little bit more about my contest play. But ended up had a $300 double into Best Actor, would have paid me $2,600. The entire goal was to put everything on Stay Hot at Santa Anita, who ended up winning, not easily, but easily enough. And that head difference is an $8,600 head and a Vegas strip head for that matter.
Sucks.
But it is what it is. Again, Best Actor, no excuses. I mean, it just is what it is. He got pushed a little bit harder than I thought, and just wasn't good enough. Money Supply in the slop. Talk about a good training job. After coming off of Chad Brown, Joe Sharp has completely turned that horse's career around again, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. And Matt Miller, of course, is in the chat. I'll never forget. I saw him. He was standing in front of me as was looking on. He says, "Still can't believe this finish is the difference between Kyle in and out our first NHC." That's the game we love, man. It giveth and it taketh away. It sucks, but I can't. What are you gonna do? It's just
Kyle,
the way
let
it
me
is.
just say this because it was brutal, and Pete knows this too because Pete and I have been around a long time. We're practically fossils at this point. You're an excellent handicapper, Kyle. It will happen. You got so many more years to go.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. And so it hurts in the moment. We've all been there, but you will get there, my friend, for sure, as a contestant very soon.
I appreciate it, and that's the goal. Maybe pick your prize this summer. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see when we get there. But obviously, I was 14th or whatever, and I don't even know anymore.
Just gotta make sure you got the Zoom link.
Whatever. Yeah. You be quiet over there.
People don't know that story.
Yeah, don't need to tell it either. Hey, I'll take my money and run. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Anyway, moving on to the Fairgrounds Stakes, guys. This was a mile and an eighth on the Fairgrounds soft turf. won by one of my old favorites. This is a horse I've been chasing forever, and against also a horse in here that ended up finishing second. Beatbox winning over Strong Quality. Beatbox ended up getting a 96 buyer, beating Strong Quality again by a neck. And, this is another race, guys, where Strong Quality really just had it, his own way. There's not really too much excuses again for Strong Quality. Maybe you could say the softer turf, but it's hard to say things. It's hard to say things for horses that set really easy fractions and don't get it done. Johnny's Fireball ran huge for third at 20-1, who I was a little interested. As another horse we've been following for a while. If you watch the Betting and Boozing shows, a Gulfstream runner now coming over. But again, just a great ride, another great ride by Rosario. And you talk about, we talked about it in the previous turf race, Howard, but it's the inside turf. People didn't know where they wanted to go, and another horse coming up the rail at Fairgrounds to win another one.
Yeah, I was wrong about this horse. I'll let Pete talk more because I want you guys to do more of the talking here tonight, since you guys are hosting and co-hosting. But I was wrong. If I put this horse in our pick 5, Pete, on the show, I would have had it in the pick 5, our K-Man ticket. I used like 5 horses. I didn't like the distance for this horse. I was absolutely wrong. You were absolutely right. So tell everyone how it happened, because I didn't love Beatbox in the spot, to be honest.
Yeah, this was my top choice, and it was actually the opposite of what you were thinking. I liked the added distance for this horse, and I liked the negative of the added distance for Strong Quality. So the combination there, because this was one who just likes to get second, and those are tough horses to bet. But I just figured he came home best last time, didn't get there, but I just felt like he was going to be due. And I liked the added, like I said, I liked the added distance. And I liked the fact that I thought Strong Quality wouldn't be able to hold. And it sort of worked out that way. And like you said, Kyle, Rosario got him a perfect trip, sat on the rail, didn't have to do too much. And, he squeaked it out. It's not like he blew the field away, but he squeaked it out. But I like a horse that's just like seconds worry you, but at least you could see that he was in form. And these were all his last, 6 on the turf. He's gotten increasingly better. His buyers have gotten better. His time form has gotten a little better. So he just felt like he was ready to peak for a good performance. And luckily that's what happened.
And for, no more than a likable trainer than Cherie DeVoe as well. It's glad to see her finally, getting up into I'm not that she hasn't been, but it's finally good to see her really get into the limelight here with a really nice horse.
Yeah. A lot of great stakes wins these days, which is nice to see.
Of course. I mean, between, her, Brittany Russell, there's a lot of horses that can take, and Linda Rice, of course, as well, that are taking these female trainers into the limelight, which is great.
Yeah. And Jenna Antonucci.
That's obvious. That's an obvious one as
we got to mention the HHH guests, obviously, at the top of top of that list. Yes,
absolutely. All right, guys. But now it comes to the big ones here with a bunch of implications. The race 13 on Saturday was the Rachel Alexandra Stakes. It's a Kentucky Oaks prep with 6 horses in it, and a few horses that we thought were really good at 2, and some new faces, and it was inevitably won by a new face. Great pick by Paul on the Picks and Ponies show for the Godolphin homebred Tarifa, who ends up winning pretty convincingly, honestly, over Intricate, and Vivi's Dream was an Alpine Princess, really never fired. Vivi's Dream especially. We can talk about this, however much we want. Was it the layoff? Was it just the slop? Was it, could be a lot of different factors. And Pete, I'll go to you first on this one. But as we end up watching the full replay of this, I'll tell you what, and I'll be completely transparent. I didn't see Intricate being bet like this. And I mean, it comes down to the fact that Vivi's Dream was a little bit cold on the board, probably due to the layoff, but leading into the gate, Intricate was 6-5, 1-1, and Tarifa was 5-1. Naturally, as they go off, Intricate goes off at 8-5, and Tarifa's 5-2. But that bygone, I digress. But I didn't see Intricate being bet down like this, and neither did the doubles really. The doubles were pretty similar between her and Vivi's Dream, and obviously Perfect Shot sets a 24-1 opening quarter, which wasn't necessarily a fast time or a slow time really for the Fairgrounds. Even though, the slow track and stuff like that was pretty on par for the entire day. But Pete, Tarifa's just sitting. I mean, where else would you want a horse right now than where Tarifa is?
I mean, if you watch, yeah, when you watch the replay, it just gets another one with a perfect trip and intricate sort of drop back a little bit, winds up actually going to last. And we might have missed that. That might have happened already. Goes to last. And it could be too. Part of the difference is just Tarifa had a run already this year and Intricate did not. So I don't know if Intricate was shaking off a little bit of rust or maybe didn't love the slop, or Tarifa's just better. It's hard to know. And again,
Right.
the one thing about this card is, and we'll talk about it too when we get to the Risen Star, is it was a pretty boggy track on the dirt. So it's hard to know if that brought any forward, if that hindered anybody, what it did. So it's hard to really gauge these for the Oaks and the Derby fully until we see them maybe on a faster track or without having maybe the not benefit of being off a layoff. And like Tarifa here just looked sharper, and Intricate ran well, but Tarifa was just better. I was on West Omaha. West Omaha was my top pick. She's going to be going in the Honeybee this weekend, which we'll talk about on Thursday on Picks and Ponies at Oaklawn. But I thought West Omaha was the best horse in the race, so we'll see if she does anything this week. But Tarifa stamped herself as, one of the top 4 or 5 contenders for the Oaks, I think, with that run.
Yeah, and like I said, Pete, real quick, and then we'll move on, of course, to Sierra Leone. I'll let you talk about your top 10 here as I'll bring it up from. This is, of course, on hhhracingpodcast.com, and this is Pete's top 10. As you see, Tarifa moves into number 3 behind the horse you just mentioned, West Omaha, of course, the 2-year-old champion. Just real quick, Pete, what kind of made you throw her into 3rd as comparatively to everyone else?
Well, it was a combination of, she beat Intricate and she beat her handily enough to be above her. Candide hasn't run yet, so back on the work tab, but we'll see when she runs. Copion lost to Kinza, so we'll have to see when she steps up again and if she can run. And then Jody's Pride hadn't run yet. So I just didn't. The Oaks is a little top heavy, I think, and a bunch of the good ones just haven't made their debut yet. So it makes it tough. And I'm like, you have to reward a horse who's now 2 for 2, who's a 3-year-old, and ran him. This was a pretty. I don't know if this field would be great. I didn't like Vivi's Dream at all, really. Had it in 3rd just because it was such a short field. Had her in 3rd, but I didn't really like her. So we'll see where it goes. But off an impressive performance like that, you got to give her due, I think.
Yeah, and Chris Couples, thanks so much. I appreciate. And maybe there is still time. We'll see. We'll see how the bankroll fares going. The wedding bankroll, what I should say, fares going into Vegas. But yeah, Pete, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of these horses that haven't really made their debuts, and Howard's talked about it immensely, how the 3-year-old fillies division is his favorite division, and it's very predictable through the entire year. So but obviously we'll see as these horses start to come back, starting with West Omaha obviously next weekend at
Kyle, real quick.
Yep.
Pete, why do you think West Omaha scratched? You think it was the surface, or they want an easier spot? Or
I looked and I didn't see it.
I don't think it's going to be any easier just because it's such a bigger field. I haven't heard anything. I find it a bit curious. I guess we'll talk about it on Thursday. But.
I mean, I assume if it was for the track, just for the condition, that wouldn't surprise me though, because she'd still be on track. She's not really missing much.
Yep.
So okay. I feel like if that's the reason, I looked to see if there was something. I didn't see anything about sickness. I didn't see anything negative, but I guess if anything comes out. So with her, I think you just wait. If she runs great this week, who cares why she scratched if she looks great doing it?
Yep.
So
that sounds right too. Yeah.
So Stole It Breezing and of course Michael Austin both saying, Michael Austin said it's easier. Cox, and then Stole It Breezing says Cox didn't want to run all 3 of his early in the same race, which obviously makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
But guys, we'll move on here. This is, of course, the one that you've all been waiting for. Of course, that we have all been waiting for, the Risen Star Stakes with Sierra Leone. And I'll bring up the DRF right now, guys. Sierra Leone wins coming from, like I said, not New Orleans wide, not Birmingham, Alabama wide. I'd argue probably, Orlando wide into the stretch and blows by everybody with a very convincing win. Track Phantom got second after setting, what I would say probably walk the dog fractions. I mean, he almost ran the half in 50. I think it was 49-3, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 49-3 and 114-3, and still didn't get the job done over our boy Sierra Leone. And I'll show the replay of the Risen Star Stakes right now, guys, and I'll let us talk over. The full replay is going to play right now, of course. And you'll see Sierra Leone Oh gosh, was the 4 horse right here on the inside. Track Phantom drew the 11. He's going to end up actually clearing, which Pete, I didn't see in this race. I figured Hall of Fame wasn't going to battle right away. Obviously, the two weren't going to battle, but I didn't see Track Phantom getting this easy of a lead.
No, me neither. I thought some of the cheaper speed might go, and they didn't. And once Track Phantom got to the lead, I was like, this horse can be tough, because this horse, the thing that I didn't count on, and like I said, I had him as my top horse in my top 10 last week, and I thought he would just face too much pressure here, and going the extra distance, I thought it might be too much, and it eventually was, but he ran pretty strong still, and I think he's a really high quality horse. I mean, he gets a lead like this, he's going to be tough to run down. But again, you don't even know with the ground whether went slow on purpose. Like, I don't like slow. I like slow on the lead, but you have to kick away a little bit, and you have to use your speed a little more wisely. I thought he kept the field. A little bit too much in touch for my liking. If I had bet Track Phantom.
I mean, we talk about this all the time, Howard. You know, it's the aggressiveness and how aggressive you want to be. Like when you're kind of slowing them up and then you see everyone kind of swarming around you. You and I both like when horses kind of, kick away either on the turn or towards the top of the stretch. But you'll see Sierra Leone right here in the middle on a fantastic ride by Gaffleone, swinging 10 wide.
I can't say enough good things about Gaffleone. First time riding this horse, although they did say that he rode him in the morning. He worked him in the morning. He did exactly what Chad Brown wanted him to do, which was save ground, then tip out. And, right here, this is a vigorous hand ride. This is like right here. That's a vigorous hand ride. That's not, he's in hand late. I mean, we'll talk about the buyer, and, there's a lot of things to say about it. Bob, we got Jim Pilars is on now, by the way.
Hey,
what's
Jim.
up, Jim?
Now
you're muted, Jim.
You're on mute.
Well, okay, how's that now?
Yeah, it was really loud before, so I muted you for a second.
Okay.
How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for inviting me to the show. I appreciate having a little piece of the action here.
Well, why don't we just real quick, Jim? Why you even? I mean, we'd love to have you on any time, but why don't you tell everyone why you're on for real tonight?
Well, for real is because Howard, in all of his generosity, has included me in the little group that has a piece of the action on Sierra Leone in the Kentucky Derby. So 150 to 1, boys. I'm glad to have my little slice of the pie, and I know Howard and the boys invited me to give a little bit of an opinion on and maybe the race and the prospects going forward. I'm happy to do so and thrilled to do so.
Well, real quick, I'll just follow up, Kyle, and then I'll let Jim talk for a little bit here. We got a 90 buyer, and I have mixed feelings about that. The track was really bad. It was windy. It was just an awful day, really, overall. And I think it was difficult to find figures for these races because they said the track was changing throughout. The thing is, I'm very much a visual player, and this is not a Sierra Leone bias. I'm just a visual handicapper. And the way he did it, guys, I see no reason why he can't run faster when needed. And so, I'm not saying he could have gotten 100 in this race, but based on the race flow, it was a slow pace. He was sort of eased up late. I'm just not caught up with the number right now. And if you want to say he's too slow, I get it. And I'm not going to really argue it. I'm just going to respectfully disagree. And I think I would like to see a forward move, though, in the Bluegrass. I don't care if he wins or loses at all. But I would, Pete and Jim, like to see like an mid to upper 90s buyer where he has that upward progression into a low 100 to mid 100 for the Derby. Jim, I don't know how you feel about that comment.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see what the time form comes back at because they take a little bit more into account the changing track condition. The jockeys were saying that the track was slowing as the sun was setting. And again, with the time that's slow going to the 3/4 of a mile, you're never going to get a fast buyer. I mean, it's amazing that this horse came home in 12-2 in the last 1/8 of a mile. At 9 furlongs, 3-year-old this early in the season, fantastic. I'll make a bold statement here, and I may get a little bit of pushback from a couple of you guys. As far as the Derby goes, I'm hoping for a slow pace. I want a moderate pace. I think with Sierra Leone's running style, with that terrific turf kick he has, I'd rather have him 6, 7, 8 lengths behind a slower pace than having 3 speedballs hammering on the front and having 15, 20 lengths behind. He's got that tremendous turn of foot for maybe 1/4 to 3/8 of a mile. And I don't want any other closers getting a big jump on him or getting a 4 or 5 length start on him. I want him close to the other closers, and I think he can outkick every one of them. So I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I haven't thought about it yet, but again, it wouldn't bother me if the Kentucky Derby is run similarly to how the Risen Star was run. Slow pace and relatively close, and let him make his charge.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think he would run well in both. I mean, I think for me that the one thing you want to see, and you could talk about his debut was on a fast track, but does the sloppy track move him forward? That's the one thing you're concerned about, because his last two were on off tracks and being by Gun Runner. Obviously, he has a plus there. So when you see him on a fast track, I agree with Howard. Like when he gets on a fast track in the bluegrass, you do want to see a figure move forward. And I know people complain about buyers and all that stuff. But regardless of what you think about figures, you generally need to hit a certain figure to win the Derby. And regardless of whether you think leading up to it, you have to get there at some point. So you can't stay around this number. And that's what all these horses did. So I think it's important enough just from a forward move progression scale that you care about sort of buyers and you want to see incremental moves. And we want to see this horse on a fast track and see what he can do with that as well.
And you know what I really like about this horse, Kyle, much more than Tapit Trice last year, who, by the way, is back on the work tab, believe it or not.
Yep, I did see that.
We still don't know exactly yet, but based on his first race, if you go watch his first race, and this is why I really got on this horse, because of his debut, he looks very athletic, guys. I have no doubt that in the Derby he can weave in between horses. He can get in and out of spots. He's very agile. He's very athletic, and he does have that turn of foot, because when you're going to close in the Derby, you can't be grindy. If you're going to be grindy, you got to be 10 wide. I think this horse can split horses and weave in where he needs to go, because he's more agile in that way. I like that he's not like some big ass grindy Tapit Trice kind of moping kind of horse. I think when Tyler presses the button, I think he will go. He's just gonna have to find the right time and the right path and blah blah blah. He needs a lot of luck, obviously. Well, everyone does, but
this is why the Derby should be, this is my idea that no one would ever do, is the Derby should not be a random draw. It should be by points, and then horses would run. And if you get the highest points, you pick your post position in the Derby. That would be awesome, because then you don't worry about getting stuck in the one hole. And then it would actually force horses to run a little bit too and actually accumulate points, and then see, because you don't want to be at the bottom then taking one of those crappy post positions.
Yeah,
that's an interesting one, Pete. Actually, that's I think a lot of people would hate that idea, and until they think about it more, and it's like, if the best horse, why shouldn't the best horse, get the best? Get the best.
Yeah, give yourself a little bit of give yourself something
seating wise.
There's a carrot there to run in races and accumulate points, which I would love.
I just want to talk about Track Fam for a second.
Yeah,
and Jim,
absolutely.
I'd like to hear your opinion. He's very honest. I respect anyone who loves this horse. I don't like this horse at all in the Derby, like at all. Like he should have won Saturday. I know Sierra Leone's good. And you could say the track was slowing down. He got away with it. If he's that good, if he's the next, epicenter, he wins that by 4. I mean, he got no pressure. Now, he did get pressure 2 back with Nash, but that was a weaker field, and Nash didn't want to go 2 turns. Like, Track Fan to me has a lot more to prove than Sierra Leone, like a lot more. I don't understand the Track Fan I'm love. I could be wrong.
Well, and Howard, I'll tell you,
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
I'll tell you what I was saying on Saturday when I was at the OTB with a bunch of people. People were talking about how Hall of Fame ran a faster time than Track Phantom, and obviously that promotes Hall of Fame into the type of buzz horse that he was in the Risen Star. But the one thing that I said, and Jim, I know I talked to you about this.
Yeah, we talk a lot afterwards. Yeah.
Hey, Jim, do you have a lot of background noise?
I do.
Is there a way you can turn that down for us, Jim?
You're good.
Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
So the fact that Hall of Fame is running, and it's making people like him more than Track Phantom. But the way I was viewing it was, obviously it's a huge step up for Hall of Fame to move from that maiden race to run in what looked on paper like the best Derby prep we've had all year. It didn't make me like Hall of Fame more in the fact that he ran faster than Track Phantom. It made me like Track Phantom less in that regard. And I think that's a good way to look at it, where, you might not even like Hall of Fame, but if he ran faster and you believe that was true, why would that not demote Track Phantom in your kind of ranking in that regard? So that's how, what's up?
Thoughts from Jim on that, Kyle?
Yeah.
No, Kyle and I were talking quite a bit after the race, a good 30, 40 minutes, and that is exactly the point that Kyle brought up, and I agree with him 100%. I track fan him going that slow, that easy, and being run down. And he's going to be going longer. I didn't even know if the 1.125 was going to suit him. Going 1.25 miles, I just don't like his chances at all. There's going to be speed in that race. Door Notch and others that are going to, want the front, and he's certainly not going to get the trip he did here.
Yeah.
And like Howard was saying, if you can't win the Wisdom Star with that kind of lead, that kind of pace, going to the top of the stretch and being run down by Sierra Leone, who is 6'7" wide, coming from way back. And again, I'm with you. I don't understand the love either.
He did get caught both times when he ran on an off track, which is maybe a coincidence, maybe not a coincidence, but he got run down both times on an off track. But I mean, you don't have to like him for the Derby to win it. I could see that because, I mean, again, speed is tough if there's going to be other speed in there. I just think he's a high quality horse, and I think he ran better than I think people were even giving him credit for going into that race, because I thought a lot of people were down on him going into that race. And Hall of Fame, you got to watch him. He's had 2 races off Lasix, and neither one were all that impressive. The debut I didn't love, and he looked like crap this week. And he popped a big one when he was on Lasix, so that's also something to watch for if he comes back.
I'll say this about Hall of Fame.
I like Track Phantom as a horse. I think he's a real nice horse. I just don't like him going 10 furlongs in the Derby.
Sure.
But
we don't like a lot of horses going 10 furlongs in the Derby,
the
too.
Pate Mile, he could be he's not going to run that race. He's going to run the Derby. But
yeah.
the Pate Mile, or even like turning back in like the Woody Stevens or the Jerkins, Pete, I think he could be.
Yeah, he's
really
awesome.
Tough
Yeah,
if they decide to go that route. And the last thing I want to say real quick, I've seen some things on Twitter, and again, I'm trying to be very honest and not Sierra Leone love here. I've heard people say, well, I guess that wasn't the best Derby prep because it was only a 90 by. Can we stop poop? That was the best field by far. By far. You can't say after that, well, no, it's not. In fact, I'm very interested in Catching Freedom going forward. I thought
Catching Freedom.
He is goofy as all hell right now. If Cox figures him out, I think he's a serious Derby threat. He scares the hell out of me. I gotta be honest.
I told you that's the exact.
I agree with Colin completely, and Paul. Totally agree.
That's the exacta in the Derby. That's already my exacta. I'd bet it right now. The Catching Freedom, Sierra Leone. I think Catching Freedom.
Whoa! All the way around.
I don't give a shit which way it comes because, hey,
what?
Well, yeah, we do.
Look,
come on.
On the day of, I'm just happy they're both there. And if I'm going to get beat, I'd rather get beat by the horse I have than the exacta.
Well, that's
okay. Howard, put Pete's mic on half volume, okay?
I'll take Pete. I'll take your 7,500 if you know that. That's all. It's all good.
No, see, I already have the ticket. That's the beauty of it. The ticket's there. It doesn't really matter anymore.
I know.
I think Catching Freedom might be just as talented as any horse. He's been green in all of his races, and he just hasn't. The only bad thing is there's only one race before the Derby.
Correct.
So he has to straighten out in the next one, which I assume will be, I don't know, but maybe in Louisiana Derby. But he has to straighten out because you can't be doing that dumb stuff in the Derby or you're going to kill yourself.
No kidding. But obviously, like I said, Byers, Schmeier. I mean, at that point, that race, the fact that he swung that wide, I think the blinkers on was a great decision. I think that kept him really able to push button finish down the stretch, not get too, loopy as he goes by horses. He's on the lead by himself. I think that was a very, very strong finish. And as Howard and Pete and Jim obviously all touched on, without the bias, I think that was probably, one of the strongest finishes we've seen so far this year.
By the way, real quick, I'd give Anna Marie another chance as like a underneath horse. I think he caught the worst of everything. And it was off the layoff. And again, we don't know how much he likes the off track. So I would give him a shot, and you're going to get him at a pretty good price, even maybe in the next prep off of that. So I would give him another shot back.
3 real quick things. And Kyle, I need your help with one of these things. First of all, can we please remember, not you guys, but people at home listening and watching now and later, that was only Sierra Leone's 3rd lifetime start, guys. 3rd lifetime start. I mean, he's got plenty of room to grow, number one. Number 2, even if it comes up dry, Churchill, remember, Churchill is that's a dirt course that turf horses do well on. Barbaro, Animal Kingdom. I could go through a whole list. So even if it's dry, Pete, you might be right. The wet might move them up. But I still have a lot of confidence that on that dirt course, even if it's dry, that his stride and the way he goes will be just fine. And the third thing, Kyle, can you bring up the final quarter time from the chart, or
Absolutely.
whatever they give the incremental? I want to see how it compares to everyone else. I mean, look, someone mentioned the 12. I mean, look how much faster that's a final eighth right there. I mean, that is a lot faster, even than catching freedom. I know people are like it's only 0.38. 0.38 is like 2.5, 3 lengths.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so actually, Anna Marie was second fastest I see now.
Yep, right here.
Well, catching freedom also was on the wrong lead and almost tried to run into the other horse on the inside.
So I mean,
yeah,
he finished 24.73, and then so he finished 24 and 24 on that track. I mean, that's just. I just want to accentuate how good that close was. I mean, anyway, I'm done.
It was phenomenal.
I'm good.
No, and the last thing is, and then we'll end the show, guys. The last thing on Sierra Leone. You've seen this thrown around as well on Twitter, I'm sure. The running style, concerns, and that that's a valid concern. The fact that he, if he doesn't end up mid-pack, he has to pass 17 horses coming wide in the Derby. But if anything, that Risen Star for me makes me feel like, it makes me feel confident that if he does have to pass 15, is that he, like Howard alluded to earlier, he's not necessarily like a grindy tape. I saw a lot of people say Agate Road in the chat where, he's a turf horse, but he's not a push button like we saw in the Sam F. Davis. He's really grindy, and granted, he was coming from so far back. But, I'd much rather have a horse that can weave through and had kind of more of that acceleration type. So if anything, the Risen Star made me feel confident in that Sierra Leone can do that, as Howard alluded to earlier. And I'll kind of leave that question open real quick. That is very true. We saw that obviously in the Florida Derby as well with Mage and the Found a Youth. But either way, I'll leave that kind of open, and then anyone can talk about that, and then we'll kind of end the show. Pete, I'll kind of leave that one to you first, and then anyone else can.
No, I agree with that for sure. And the one thing underrated about this class so far is it's not very good. There's nobody's jumped out and been sort of dominant. Nobody's popped like huge figures. Nobody's looked so impressive that it's been scary. Even when I go through my little top 10, I'm looking at it going, man, I can barely fill 10 out already in horses that I'm really confident in. I mean, I have Track Phantom 2, and we don't seem the panel agrees that he might not even be a good Derby horse. Locked is a little funky right now. He missed stuff, and hopefully he comes back okay. Dornock hasn't come back yet. Fierceness was a train wreck. Mystic Dan, nobody believes in. Forever Young is going to run this week in Saudi. It's not the best class either. So it may be that some of the stuff that we normally look, and we look at figures and we look at running style, it may be if the class doesn't come off that great, then maybe it's like, hey, the best horse might just win. And Sierra Leone has shown a ton of talent and might just be the best horse. And sometimes that wins.
Then that's what I actually talked about. Shout out Kevin Costello, who I was sitting with at Hawthorne. He's like, it above all else, if he's just a superior animal, they find the way to win. And if he's just better than everyone else, I don't mind him being 11th in the Derby, because if he gets a clean run, he should run down everybody else. But of course, we're the Sierra Leone love does show itself every now and again. Obviously, we think he's the best horse in the Derby. And again, and we'll stay one thing here is that we have to give all the credit, a lot of the credit to the man to my right, as it's not just, obviously it's a full group aspect, but Howard was the one who picked out Sierra Leone after the maiden special weight race and all that stuff. So like I said, although we all have a piece of it, a lot of kudos has to go to the man to my right. Howard, I'll leave you the final say.
Yeah,
he
picked a $2.3 million horse trained by Chad Brown. Boy, that was a gun runner. Boy, that was a tough one. I'm just kidding.
I'll let Jim say something. I'll finish it out.
Right. The only thing, and kind of piggybacking what Kyle was saying, there's not a horse in America I'm afraid of right now. What I'm afraid of is the Japanese horses. A couple though that look really, really good, and this could be their year. So we'll see what happens going forward. So I love our spot right now. I couldn't be more giddy, more happy. I thank Howard so much for again, including me in the group, and appreciate it. And all the best to all of us. It's been a fun ride, no matter how it ends up. And you just can't buy. Just sometimes the journey is just so fantastic, and I appreciate being on this journey with the three of you and everybody else in the group as well. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jim. That's very nice words. I will say this, Pete. No one really has stood out yet there are some good horses in Florida. I got a feeling the Fountain of Youth, there are some really nice horses there. This Conquest Warrior looks like a nice horse for Shug, who won. It broke his maiden like in a ridiculous fashion, being a horse that came back, Anthracite, who came back and won at the Fairgrounds. Dornoch could be very good. I mean, maybe not yet, but I got a feeling there's a horse. Who's the Pletcher horse that won the allowance race over Mystic Dan?
Yeah,
at the
Speakeasy. That horse.
No,
Oh wait,
no. Beat Nash Saturday at the Fairgrounds.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Speakeasy is a talented horse. Anyway, there's a lot of talented horses. Tuscan Sky. I'm not like counting my money right now. I mean, there's a long way to go, and I got a feeling, Pete, we're going to see some very explosive races coming out of Florida.
I hope so. I mean, that's what you want. I mean, from just as a fan standpoint, right? Yeah. You want to see good horses run. I mean, take the money out for a second. We want to see good horses rise up. Yeah. We don't want it to be like the last couple 3-year-old filly years. We were just sort of looking for whoever was the best of a weak crop. We want to see great horses.
Yeah. Well, honestly, Pete, I want to walk over. I mean, I don't know what you're saying. I want
to. Money doesn't matter to me, Jim. I got nothing but cash. What do I care? Hey, it's nothing but cash, man.
Hey, man, Sierra Leone wins.
What are you talking about?
I'll tell you what, Pete. If Sierra Leone wins, that's my wedding paid for. I mean,
yeah. See, I already got married a long time ago. I know that debt's already been paid.
Hey, Pete, how many movies with Jackson would 7,500 get you?
That would be nice, though. Yeah, because it's expensive these days, man.
It is. IMAX is what, 25 or some nonsense, Pete? What is it?
I mean, it's $50 $50 minimum for just two of us every time with tickets and snacks, man. It's crazy.
Told you, Pete, that box of Milk Duds cost you at least $7. I know that.
That's what I had today, Kyle.
I saw it in the picture.
Baby.
For some reason, that background noise you guys heard was my wife putting a pillow and blanket on the couch in the other room. I'm not sure why, but something to do with a comment on the show. I don't know. I got to straighten it out when I hear it.
We better end it there, Kyle. For you.
Yeah. All right. No, completely. But yeah, guys, like I said, this has been, of course, an amazing weekend and a great show with a lot of great people, of course. And thank you to all the people in the chat. There's a bunch of stuff in the chat today, a lot of great viewership. So thank you guys all for showing up. And of course, as we touched on the show, if you were not here, the HHH Racing Podcast 2024 store is available now. The link is in the top of the description of this video and will also be on the website very shortly after this show. Again, koozies, hats, Nike Dry Fit polos, quarter zips, everything you guys want and could help to support the podcast is on that merch store. Please rep your favorite horse racing podcast and grab your HHH Racing Podcast merch today. Like I said, everything you guys buy will go straight back into the podcast and make the podcast, of course, better for your viewing pleasures. So we would appreciate it. We appreciate, of course, anything you guys buy off the website. And please, when you guys get it, be sure to tweet at us. We will, of course, reply with you guys. But like I said, greatly appreciate it. Anything you guys buy, that link is in the top of the description below. But this has been episode 9 of Horsin Around. For my co-hosts, Howard Kravitz, Pete Visco, and of course, Jim Pilars. This has been your host, Kyle Roscoe, in episode 9 of Horsin Around on the HHH Racing Podcast. And straight out of betting and boozing. Until next time, crush those bets, win those photos, and stay safe, everyone. We'll see you in the next one.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing Podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.